should know whether it wishes us well or ill.
All right, good morning. Turn in your hymnals to 571. Hymn number 571. We will sing the first and the fourth. Let's stand together. Hymn number 571, When We All Get to Heaven, verses 1 and 4. Sing the wondrous love of then, with joy I'll carry on, until the day my eyes behold the city, until the day God calls me home. On the last verse, where it says, behold that city, let's say the King. All right? For you remember that last line on the chorus, until my eyes behold the King, because we are going to do that, right? So let's insert with the city, let's say the King. On the third verse together now. The things of earth will dim and lose their value if we recall their farther for a while, and things of earth that cause our hearts to tremble, remembering will only bring us smile. But until then, heart will go on singing. Until then, with joy I'll carry on. Until the day my eyes behold the King. Until the day God calls me home. All right, we'll have the choir sing now.
Praise the Lord, let the earth hear his voice. just a few announcements here this morning. I have in my hand here an invitation from Grace and from Ben to their wedding and for our church family. So that is Saturday, June 27th at 2 o'clock. And so want to be sure to remind our church about that and let you all know about the event. We're praying for them and excited for them. Appreciate many of you all who came out and brought gifts for their wedding shower and helped make that day special for them. There was a piece of paper that I'm sure some of y'all probably grabbed and some of y'all did not. It's when you walk out the doors, you'll see them. No reason. I'll tell you what they are, and then you can grab them. This is just, instead of a bulletin, a lot of things are still kind of up in the air right now. So rather than do a full bulletin, we just have 4 events that are on the schedule we want to be sure you're aware of. And so as you do this morning, you'll see this piece of paper. VCA graduation is this Friday evening. Miss Effler, what time is that at? 7 o'clock this Friday evening for the VCA graduation. Our senior night for our church will be next Sunday evening, and this will be a little bit different. Of course, my wife and I worked with teenagers for a number of years, and so I'm looking forward to our church honoring those graduates who are from our church. And so that'll be Priscilla and Philip, and looking forward to honoring them next Sunday evening in our evening service. And we'll let Brother Conger preach to them, kind of a challenge from their youth pastor. So I think that'll be something exciting for us to look forward to. The Camp at the Wilds, June 22nd through 27th. And so letting you know about that. And then also VBS, July 19th through 24th. So we've given those dates, but this is just a say-the-date reminder for you. We do have a special opportunity today to honor some men and women. I want to ask this first and foremost. If you either are serving or you have served in the United States military, would you mind standing so we can honor you this morning? All those who either are serving or have served. I think it'd be fitting to give those folks a round of applause, wouldn't it? Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you all very much. This is my first Memorial Day as a pastor, and so I've asked a lot of questions because I want to do my very best to honor those men and women. Memorial Day is not the day that we honor those men and women who are deceased, but specifically this is the day we honor those men and women who were killed in battle. And so I've asked Brother Chad Brandenburg is a retired Marine, Captain Brandenburg. And so I've asked him to help conduct the service here today in this part of it. But I hope this will be an opportunity for us to honor men and women. And maybe you didn't get a chance to turn their names in. Maybe next you'll have a chance to do that. But today we're looking forward to honoring a few men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice with their life.
Well, good morning. I was honored that Pastor would ask me to take a moment and reflect on Memorial Day, what it means to me as a serviceman, what it means to me as an American. I had an opportunity to write some things down I felt would be an appropriate way to read this, so let me go ahead and read this to you. For many, Memorial Day is a day to enjoy family time, barbecues, and relaxation. Seems like the annual kickoff for summer. For others, it's a day to think about those personal to them that were lost, fighting for their country. Sons, fathers, daughters, grandsons, friends, heroes. Flowers, wreaths, and flags will be prominently decorated throughout our nation's cemeteries. Memorial Day was a response to the unprecedented carnage of the Civil War, in which a total of some 620,000 soldiers died between sides. The loss of life and its effect on communities throughout the country led to several spontaneous commemorations of the dead. The holiday was long known as Decoration Day for the practice of decorating graves with flowers, wreaths, and flags. The name Memorial Day goes back to 1882, but the older name didn't disappear until after World War II. It was until 1967 that federal law declared Memorial Day the official name. I can remember as a child sitting at my grandmother's feet listening to her tell about all that she had learned about the Civil War. She was a true historian. For her, being a part of being an American was having a knowledge of how our country was founded and the struggles that we as a nation had gone through to shape who we are. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, "Those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men have died to win them." On Memorial Day, we honor those that paid the ultimate price so that we can fully enjoy the rich blessings that come to all Americans. So many battles, wars, conflicts, so many lives lost. Just to name a few, the Civil War, again, 620,000. World War I, over 116,000 Americans. World War II, over 405,000 Americans. Korean War, 54,000. Vietnam, 90,000. the Persian Gulf over 1,500, the global war on terrorism over 7,000. Many, almost all, who have been killed were cut woefully short of ever enjoying a full life. In Vietnam, the average age of those men that died was 23. The most common age of death was 20, with 21 being second and 19 third. If you've ever been to the Vietnam Memorial Wall, it's an awe-inspiring sight. A solemn place where you stand and stare at two 246-foot-long black granite walls. On that wall, 39,996 men, Americans, were just 22 or younger. 8,283 were just 19 years old. The largest age group, 33,103, were 18 years old. 12 Americans on the wall were 17. 5 Americans on the wall were 16, and one American, PFC Dan Bullock, was actually 15 years old. Lied about his age so that he could enlist to go fight in Vietnam. 997 Americans were killed on their first day in Vietnam. 1,448 Americans were killed on their last day in Vietnam. 31 sets of, that means the day they were set to return. 31 sets of brothers are on the wall. 31 sets of parents who had lost 2 or more of their children. 8 women on the wall, nursing the wounded. 244 Americans were awarded the Medal of Honor during the Vietnam War. 153 of them are on the wall. They did not return. West Virginia had the highest casualty rate per capita in the nation. There are 711 West Virginians on the wall. Just one chapter in our nation's rich history for freedom paid by the blood of our faithful soldiers, airmen, Marines, and sailors. Someone said, "Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it." It's important that we learn, that we remember, that we know, and that we pass on to the next generation. I do hope everyone has a great Memorial Day filled with family, friends, fun, food, and fun. I would encourage all of us to take some time and reflect. Maybe learn and share something that would help honor, remember, and appreciate the fallen. At this time, we have a video that's prepared. I would encourage you to pay attention to the video, and then we have a few folks that we'd like to honor after that.
Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price. They add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom.
Today we pray that those who lie here have found peace with their Creator, and we resolve that their sacrifice will always be remembered by a grateful nation. The fallen give silent witness to the price of our liberty, and our nation honors them this day and every day.
All right, so a little while ago, I think a week or so ago, our pastor reached out, and if there was folks that we wanted to just recognize in the service, and we had a few folks that submitted names, and as pastor mentioned, hopefully next year we get more submissions, but we have 4 this year that we'd like to recognize. The first one, Brother Claude Arpin, was actually named for his uncle. Uncle Claude Haskew, who was among the many infantrymen in the D-Day invasion. His two brothers, Frank and Edgar Haskew, landed the following day. Claude was killed at St. Lo, France, and is buried at Normandy. His two brothers survived the war. Just an interesting note, again, just to the point of learning and remembering, I found an excerpt to Brother Arpin's uncle, just as a point of reference for Normandy. It says, in wave after wave of thousands of landing ships, more than 156,000 Allied infantrymen stormed the 5 beaches. Facing them were around 50,000 German troops. Stormy seas made the landings incredibly difficult, with many regiments coming ashore far from their target destinations. At Omaha Beach, only 2 of the 29 amphibious tanks even made it to land on their own power. 3 were later transported to the beach. At Omaha Beach, bombing runs had failed to take out heavily fortified Nazi artillery positions. The first waves of American fighters were cut down in droves by German machine gun fire as they scrambled across the mine-riddled beach. But U.S. forces persisted through the day-long slog, pushing forward to a fortified seawall and then up steep bluffs to take out the Nazi artillery posts by nightfall. All told, around 2,400 American troops were killed that day, wounded or accounted for after fighting at Omaha Beach. But thanks in part to the massive influx of troops and equipment, D-Day marked a decisive turning point in the war. Less than a year later, on May 7, 1945, Germany signed an unconditional surrender. To Brother Arpin, we certainly memorialize your uncle and thank you for your submission. Brother Don?
So I want to kind of pay tribute to what I call, he was my first mentor when I came in the Navy. So in 1987, I finally checked on to my first command, USS Wadsworth out of Long Beach, California. And I was wondering what I got myself into. I was definitely a little rough around the edges. And I remember, you know, when you go in the military and on a ship, you have duty sections. So I was messenger of the watch, so I check into my duty section and go up on watch. And there was this big guy up on there. He was a 3rd class. I was a seaman apprentice, I think I was at the time. And you know, he's showing me the ropes and telling me what to do. And I was thinking, this guy is kind of rough, because I was not polished at all. But anyway, through that time, he was trying to teach me, proper protocol and structure and how to succeed. And over the course of about 2.5 years, I was trained under him on different watches and different qualifications, but I always admired his tenacity and his desire to succeed. So I'm going to read a little something, but on your own time, if you want, you can Google Lou Langlois, and he has a great story, and it's pretty remarkable, but let me read this. So he was dedicated to his job, but he had sights on becoming a Navy SEAL. He spent 3 years on our warship, the USS Wadsworth, until he was accepted into the SEAL and underwater demolition training program in San Diego. Lou Langlois joined the San Diego-based SEAL Team 3 and fought in the first Gulf War. Later, he became part of the Navy's precision parachute team, the Leapfrogs, grabbing headlines for one of his very public mishaps. And this is a pretty funny story. But he jumped out of a plane coming onto the field at the Marlins game wearing a Marlins costume, but he got snagged up in the, I believe it was the lights or the rafters somewhere in the stadium, and they had to get him down, but it was kind of a funny story. But anyway. All right, so anyway, he was part of a team, a specialist team of, they did special tactics and special missions, which were unbelievable, stuff that most of us would never even attempt to try. But over a 25-year career, Langlois rose to become the troop leader of SEAL Team's Elite Team 6, the secretive unit that killed Osama bin Laden. And he was one of the 30 Americans who lost their lives when their helicopter was shot down in Afghanistan on August 6, 2011, the deadliest day for our U.S. troops in the nearly decade-long war at that time. Obviously, it's longer now. The deployment was to be Lou's last tour in Afghanistan before he was settling down to become the SEAL trainer. He was only 44 years old. He had 2 beautiful kids. They're growing up in South Florida right now. And tragic story, but Lou was one of those guys I just want to always remember as the guy that helped me see what I can achieve in life and achieve in my career, and that set the example for me. So this is to Lou. Thank you.
So the name I submitted is someone who is in my family, and we spent a lot of time the last few months talking about the coronavirus, and 100 years ago, the Spanish flu. Well, another thing happened 100 years ago, World War I. And as Brother Chad mentioned, it is one of